Hello everyone, Sabrina here from Scrappy Tails Crafts. Today I am back with another video tutorial. This is the first one featuring some of our new products in our Let's Pawty collection. I'll be using the pet collar, the rainbow bridge, some of the dog supplies, as well as I think I used all 5 dogs from the Pawty dogs set. My trifold base is going to feature the new A7 Dog House add-on. This is a really large set. As you can see, it was too tall for my packaging, so I had to cut a little rectangle at the top to accommodate the pitch of the dog house. Then, of course, we'll have to use the A7 trifold pop-up for the pull-down piece. And then I pulled in an older set. This is the spring tree. And I believe that's everything I used. So I cut my doghouse base from heavyweight red cardstock. You can see I have 3 of those. I have my little card sketch here. I like to reference that. I like to, when I have a bunch of new products, I like to sketch out what I want to do with them, and then I will put the sketch into these little containers. That way I know exactly what I need to cut out, and then once I have everything cut, I put it in the same container. So I have a couple white layering pieces, some of the red striped layering pieces. I have my pull down, my bridges, my connectors, and now I'm just going to do the paper piecing. So you guys see I do all of my die cutting beforehand. Most of the time my sketch is exactly what I need. Sometimes I'll need a little bit more to fill the card. Sometimes I might have a couple leftovers, but for the most part, I feel like following a sketch is going to give you exactly what you need. So the Doghouse add-on comes with this really cute yellow lab. You can also make it a chocolate or a black lab. I went with yellow to add a little bit of color. And the die set also has this cute dog dish. So I'm just paper piecing everything. There's also a tennis ball. Some of these pieces I'm doubling up so that they're a little bit more substantial. So here I'm making 2 tennis balls. The bones are also included in the set. I'm going to give my little puppy his nose and his eyes, and that is it. He doesn't have too many layers on him. You can also give him a birthday hat if you want to make this a birthday card. I'm going for like a spring design. And now I'm going to move on and paper piece my tree. So I'm doubling it up because this is going to be standing on my pull down, and I didn't want it to fall forward or fall backward. I wanted it nice and sturdy. And I'm just following the lines that are on the base of the tree to line up the lighter green leaves. I always start when I paper piece with the larger items, and then I try to find the smaller pieces after the large ones are glued on. I made another card, which I'm going to post later this week, with the same tree with pinks. So I cut the base from a dark pink and then these light green layers from a light pink, and it looked like a cherry blossom. So I feel like you can get different looks with this tree. You can do oranges and reds for fall. Now I am just gluing on my tree trunk, and the die set also includes some small flowers that I cut from white. So I'm going to add a few of those into my tree. It would also be cute to add the new cats. We have tons of new cat dies in this collection that are perfectly sized to climb this tree, and you will see that in my next video. Alright, you can see I also cut a bunch of the grass, also included in the Doghouse add-on. And the clouds I cut from white and vellum. Those are from the new Rainbow Bridge die set, but you can use any clouds that you have for this. For my sentiment on the card, I went with congratulations on your new addition to the family. I love this sentiment because when you adopt an animal, it really is life-changing, and I feel like anyone who receives this card will love it. So I cut the shadow from white and all of the words from gold mirror. I did double it up with white behind so that my words really pop off the shadow die. And I just really enjoyed this part of card making. It's my favorite stage, I guess you can call it. You know, there's die cutting, paper piecing, and assembling. And paper piecing is definitely my favorite part. It's just very relaxing, and I love all the details that you can add with the Scrappy Tails dies. I will have everything I used linked down below. We are selling very fast, so if you like any of the products I'm featuring, I would definitely snatch them up. We also have a really cute free die with a purchase of $125 or more. Here I am creating a little dog collar that says Bailey. That's actually the name of my older dog that sadly passed away. But I thought it would be a nice name to use because it actually is a very common dog name. And that is from the new pet collar die set. You can customize the collar to whatever name fits your pet. And if you want to use a heart instead of the bone, that would work more for a cat or another type of pet. So now I'm paper piecing this little dog, and I'm trying to make it look like an Australian Shepherd. I feel like this one, you can really create a lot of different dog breeds. So a Burmese Mountain Dog, a Saint Bernard, and in this case, an Australian Shepherd. And they have little spots on their back. So I'm going to take a gray Copic marker and add a couple spots. And I think that really made it look like the breed that I was going for. I'm just adding all his different markings. I did have to cut the die more than once because it is styled to work as a Burmese Mountain Dog, but because this particular dog breed has 3 colors, I did, you can see here, have to freehand cut a couple extra pieces. He also has an adorable little bandana I cut from blue, and I think the star is cut from a gold. I also want to mention, I'm posting this on Sunday, but tomorrow, March 17th, is St. Patrick's Day. We will have a St. Patrick's Day sale on all of our spring products, excluding the new release, and it will be 15% off. So if you want to shop tomorrow, the code is going to be St. Patty's 15, all one word and all capital letters. I will have it I will have it listed in the description. And that officially starts tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Again, it excludes this new collection. So if you want any of the products I'm using, you can shop today and take advantage of the freebie die that we are offering while supplies last. Also, all of our bundles are 5% off. So if you want all the dog products, all the cat products, those are 5% off if you buy all of them. All right, so I'm doing this little Yorkie, also from the the Pawty dog set. There's 5 total dogs in that, and I'm going to use all of them. So I first did the Australian Shepherd, now I'm doing the Yorkie. I'm using a fine liner for their faces, just because they're so tiny. I'm also using a brown Copic marker for their noses. Now I'm on to the Beagle, and I didn't have a particular shade of brown that matched my Beagle color, so I have another Copic marker. I cut the layers from Craft, and over that I'm just coloring it with this medium toned brown that's a little bit warmer, that definitely matches the Beagle better. So you can always do that if you can't find a cardstock color that matches perfectly for what you need. Try to use your markers. All right, so as you can see, These dogs do not have loads of layers to them. They are relatively simple to put together. All right, so now again, using some markers for the nose and then a fine liner for his eyes and mouth. The last dog we have here is the poodle. Oh no, we have the German Shepherd, which we'll do after the poodle. And instead of doing a white one, I decided to go with this like beige color. I knew the poodle and the beagle were going to be side by side, so I felt like if I went with a white poodle, it would have been too much white. So I'm happy with that, and here is the German Shepherd, and he is going to be going on the front of the card. You can also make him into a husky if you do grays and whites. He has a little collar I cut from gold, and again, just going over the face pieces with my fine liner. From the dog supply set, I cut this dog toy as well as the dog dish, just to add a little bit of interest to my grass later. I'm using the tip of my glue needle to pick up the small pieces. I like this little dog dish because one side can be water and the other can be food. So on the left side, I'm going to add the little dog kibble with the bone sticking out. I think that's super cute. You guys know I love adding tiny details to my die cut images. It's very fun, and part of the reason I love paper piecing so much is slowly starting to see all the details come to life. I decided to add a bow to my Yorkie and my poodle, and I think I have everything ready to go to start assembling. So it's all going to go back into my little container, and what I actually do is cut 3 or 4 cards. I spend one whole day die cutting, and then the next day I can assemble 3 cards, and I use those containers to separate, my card sketches so I know what goes with what card. All right, so now we can assemble our base, and I love this doghouse. It has 3 layers to it, so I cut the main base that has the glue tabs on the left and right side from a darker red. You can see for this one, I cut those tabs off. That's going to be my center panel, so I don't need glue tabs on it. And then I added the light red striped piece on top. And then I'm adding this white roof frame over that. So there's 3 colors. I have another base piece. I'm going to cut I think I cut the right side off. Nope, I cut the left glue tab off. And that's going to go on the left side. And then I have another base piece. I'm going to cut the right side off, and that will be my right wing. All right, but first I'm going to add my other layers to my left wing. Again, with the light red striped piece and the white frame on top. I decided to cut the door off for my inside doghouse, and then I'll leave the door on for the outside, so for the front of the card. All right, so now I'm going to add my glue tabs. You can see I did trim the roof a little bit so that it folds better, but you do not have to do that. It will still fold fine just because there is that gap in between the left and right wing. All right, so here I'm cutting off the right glue tab, and then I will fold down the score lines on the left glue tab, add some double-sided tape onto that left glue tab and glue it behind the center panel. Then if you want it, and then you can also add your pull down piece that also goes behind the center panel. And then if you want to clean it up, you can just glue another base piece behind to cover those glue tabs. So doing the exact same thing on this side. I'm trimming the roof a little bit. Again, you don't have to do that. All right, so now I'm going to add my pull down, which I cut from green. I plan to add grass onto this base piece, so I wanted it to blend into the color of the grass. So I opted for a heavyweight green. I do suggest heavyweight cardstock for all of the base pieces, including the connectors and the bridges. And then everything else, like all your decorative pieces, can be lighter weight. I cut the cap also from the same green, and that's just going to hide my bridges and make it look cleaner. So I'm adding double-sided tape to all of these bridges. I'm adding it to the rectangle part on each of my connectors. So I have 2 long ones and 1 short one. You can see I'm adding my double-sided tape below the score line on the rectangle part. So I am opting to have my angled pieces show on top of the pull down. So now I'm going to take off the double-sided tape, and then from the bottom, I just tuck these in, and I make sure that that tape is touching the bottom of the pull down. So what's sticking up are those angled pieces. They don't have any glue on them, but they will hold all of the die cut images to build my pull down scene. All right, so I'm going to add a strip of tape. There's already some ATG tape there. I just added another strip down the center over those bridges or connectors. And now I'm going to start from back to front. Actually, I think I'm gonna keep working on my base here. So I ended up needing 5 dog houses to completely decorate this way. So these cards definitely take longer to assemble, but they are truly a work of art. All right, so now I'm just going to decorate the front the exact same way. This time I'm going to leave the door on. I'm not going to cut it off. There's also a die where you can make the inside of the door a different color, but I just left it like this. And as you can see, the grass perfectly fits in between. So here I'm just laying out how I want this to look. That sentiment is "You're the best dog, Mom." And this sentiment is included in the Pet Keys die set. There's also Cat Mom. And with my vellum clouds, you can see glue behind vellum. So I'm making sure to add a white cloud, or in this case, the Dog Mom sentiment on top of the vellum cloud. That way I can add glue behind the sentiment and the white clouds to stick the vellum one down with it. I'm trimming these clouds, which I don't really think you have to do. And here is the "You're the best." I love all the different sentiments in these sets. I really prefer a die cut sentiment over a stamped sentiment, especially when my card is all die cut images anyway. But there are some great sentiments also included in the new stamp set, if you're more of a stamper. I have 2 shades of green grass for my entire card. I like the pop of color. So my little German Shepherd's going to go down there, and I think that pretty much finishes the front of the card. I might add a couple more clouds. All right, now this is the inside right wing, and I usually use this space for an area to write a message. So I'm going to add my grass again. You can see I just opened up my sketch to see what I originally planned, because sometimes I forget, and as I mentioned, I sometimes prep 3 or 4 cards before I actually start assembling. So I always keep my sketches in my container to reference. You can always change it up too. You don't always have to follow it exactly. So I'm tucking my lab into the grass, and I put the dog dish in the front. I cut this little label from one of my shape dies in my stash, and just going to accent that with some more clouds, but I'm leaving enough space in case I want to write a message. Again, trimming the clouds, I really don't think you need to do that. I should have just glued them down and then trimmed them after they were glued. But here you can see I am trying to match the angle of the roof and the sides of the house. So here you can see that little dot of glue. I thought I could get away with just a tiny dot, but it really is noticeable. So here I am trying to use up some clouds that were already cut off, but I ended up having to just start a new cloud to cover that up. But I love how that looks. We're going to open up the inside. Again, add some grass. Do the same thing on the left side. And that area on the pull down is a great spot to add your sentiment, but I knew I wanted more clouds, and also my Yorkie fit perfectly on that. So I decided to add my sentiment on the left side. You can see I already kind of laid out everything off camera, because it does take a bit of time to get to a point where you like how it looks. But again, adding vellum clouds behind the sentiment is a great way to incorporate the vellum without showing any glue. Added the dog dish on the left side. I really think these clouds added a lot to the card. I'm really happy with that. And then on the right side, I'm adding my Bailey collar tag, a little paw print, and the dog toys. I thought about adding the beagle, but felt the Yorkie was a better size to put in the corner there. I'm gonna add a couple more clouds. I don't usually use this space to create, to make more scenes, but I'm really happy with how this looks. I'm not sure if I add anything else here. I think I leave that as is. I decided to add one of the tennis balls to the front. Here's my Bailey name tag. That little paw print and the bones are included in the Dog House add-on, as well as the tennis ball. Just gonna add a couple more clouds here. Ended up needing to cut more clouds for this card. So you can see I'm hiding a dot of glue behind that bone. You can see I'm definitely fussing around with trimming these clouds, which I don't think is necessary. And I did a similar card like this where I just glued the clouds down. I didn't worry about cutting them perfectly. All right, perfect. So now we can work on the pull down piece. I'm gonna have my tree in the back row on the left side. I plan to have my little Australian Shepherd in the front, and then my Beagle and my Poodle will be on the second row. I will have to lift them up to be taller than the dog in the front. So to do that, I'm going to use some scraps of green cardstock. You can see I just glued that onto the second row, and then on top of that I glued my Beagle and my Poodle. Oh, so I guess I added the Beagle to the third row and the Poodle to the second row. I love the dimension you get by having 3 connectors on that pull down. And you can always use cardstock to either raise your images up or give them more stability. I'm going to tuck in a couple more clouds, and now it's time to add the connectors, which is going to ensure that everything is going to lay properly when the card is opened. So I like to start from back to front, and you want to add these connectors as high up as your image can go. So in this case, on the third row, I want to add it to the top of the tree, and I connect the third row to the very back of the card with this connector. So I have half of the glue tab glued behind the tree, and the other half I pulled across to the back of the card. And then for the second connector, you're going to connect the second bridge to the third. So I'm going to glue this behind my Poodle. And you can see I added some more green cardstock back there so that I have somewhere to attach the other end of the connector. So that's another way you can use scrap cardstock. You can't see it in the scene, but it's there to help with the pull down mechanism. I'm going to do the same thing with this front dog. I'm going to raise up the bridge a little bit with just a scrap of cardstock, adding it behind the second bridge. And this just gives me a little bit more surface area to attach my Australian Shepherd to the second bridge. And that's it. That is my completed card. This is how it flattens. There's the area to write a message and the front of the card. I love how this turned out. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Give this video a like. We are trying to build our subscriber count, and as I mentioned, everything will be linked down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and a happy St. Patrick's Day. Bye!